Hello, everyone. We're back with Ken Dombrowski, executive life coach and master hypnotist. And today I kind of want to go back to something we started touching on recently, and that's going to be the 7 deadly sins, this time taking a little bit more of a focus on sloth. Do you want to just kind of give an idea of, the sloth laziness dynamic and why people may be like that?
Well, there's so much confusion in our society. What becomes normal usually is not correct. It's just kind of waves and patterns of how people think as a collective. So when you think about sloth, one of the original 7 deadly sins of the Bible goes back 2,000 years ago. So they knew, different parts of human behavior were going to be destructive. Well, it still is true today, but it just takes on a lot of different twists and turns. See, to be lazy today, or to be, someone who's a sloth, is really not what you think it is. It's not someone who's just unambitious or unmotivated or doesn't wanna. I mean, that can be a play a little bit, but for the most part, most people are in a self-protection mode. It's called survival. So your subconscious mind has one goal for your life and one only, and that's survival, keeping our dumb ass alive no matter what we might do to ourselves, right? So it's constantly making these decisions that is going to keep you safe. So think about it like this. In today's society, if you can afford to go on disability for some whatever reason and sit on your couch and have all your bills paid through welfare and whatnot, and you never have to leave the house, that's going to be the safest you probably could ever feel in your life. You're in your own home where you feel safe. So when you have to go out, you feel unsafe. People get a lot of anxiety leaving the house because it's unsafe out there. Nothing bad has ever happened to me on the couch, but if I go outside, the news tells me I can get into a car accident, I can get carjacked, I can get in some kind of problem, all kinds of things can happen. So sloth really has become something more of a protection than just someone who doesn't feel like or doesn't wanna. It's really they're being held down against their will by their own subconscious to keep them safe.
I mean, when you're talking about that kind of just leans into the people that are like vying to work from home, because it's the same concept. Like it seems kind of lazy, or, maybe they have good intentions, whatever it may be. But, it means they don't have to go out into the world. They don't have to worry about going somewhere. And a lot more people than I think others may realize have a fear of driving now. So it could be a huge protection against that. It's probably in the top 3 fears we work with is someone has a problem driving somewhere, highway, bridges, anywhere really. So it does make a lot of sense as a protective mechanism. But obviously we still don't want people to fall in the sloth category, regardless of if it's for self-protection or for genuine laziness. Both do need to be addressed.
Well, the way human behavior goes, it's a progression. So if we go back 100 years ago, you didn't have a whole lot of choice. You had to work. You had to, there's so much manual labor that had to be done. And so you had to participate or you got in trouble if you're a child or a teenager, or if you're an adult, your bills didn't get paid and you'd have different problems. So people did not have the choices. If you had migraine headaches, you just did your job and you worked through them. If you had a bad back, you just worked through it. It became evolutionary too easy. Softer and softer society. Now, it all began becoming softer society with, things like welfare and disability and things like this for people who truly needed it. Mm-hmm. Maybe they had an injury, maybe they had a disability, and actually like a physical disability. There was a time when a person could be missing a body part, an arm and a leg or whatever, and still take great pride in whatever work they did. They did not want to just sit on the couch and collect disability. That wasn't even an option. Today, people are looking for how can I stay so safe that I don't have to leave my house.
Right.
And they're willing to settle for this really, really low-grade lifestyle where they have no happiness, no joy, no excitement. They're just barely limping by month to month, and that's okay. That has become a new standard for a lot of people. So we got there through this arc of, okay, let's make it easier on people, make it easier, make it easier, make it easier. And then along with that, the massive influx of information that none of us needs. We don't need to be watching news in the morning, in the evening, in the afternoon, and then in the evening. You don't need those. We don't need to have constant news on. That's too much information telling us that there's bad stuff going on out there. So I want to stay here so I don't have to become part of that bad stuff. So sloth is a mechanism of necessity today. It's hard for me to speak to why 2,000 years ago. How could you be lazy when if you did not do a whole lot of bare minimum things every day, you would perish.
Right.
You would die. But evidently it was a problem because it became one of the original 7 deadly sins.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things that'll always be a part of human nature. But I definitely get what you're saying, because it's like the easier we try and make society for specific people that need it, the more it just kind of opens up to become normal. And people are, maybe saying that they enjoy it or bragging about it. But at the end of the day, I'm sure if we looked at the positivity, the happiness, like the more positive emotions that they would be experiencing, they wouldn't really be there, because there's a difference between having your basic needs met and contributing to get your basic needs met. And one will make you feel better than the other, which is why sloth is a deadly sin. Like, it's very deadly to live in a world where you don't actually contribute. And that's where the problem comes in. It's just like, yes, it's there for the people that need it when they need it, but it should be a lot more temporary than society has made it.
Exactly. And so when we look at that necessity, we've dreamt this up in our own mind that we can see, because I talk about this in the office all the time. Our subconscious, one of the many drivers in your subconscious is this thing called comparison. Mm-hmm. So your subconscious is always making comparisons nonstop throughout every moment of your entire life. Everything you see or experience, your subconscious in nanoseconds is making comparisons between this thing that I saw and that thing that I saw, or more importantly, between what that person is doing and what I'm doing, or what they're enjoying or getting out of life and what I am. So if we can look around and see too easily that you can get on, again, I'm just going to use the word like disability or welfare, because it's so easy, because someone else is doing it. Someone else should be able, they're living a happy life, doing nothing, sitting on the couch. I should be able to do the same thing. So then, yeah, you're absolutely right. You feel like garbage, because everything we have, we should actually earn it. Mm-hmm. When we look at lottery winners, this is one of my favorite ways to look at it. Lottery winners, they won. They paid $2, bought a ticket, and scratched something, and oh my gosh, I won $100 million, and they are happy. And of course, you'd be happy as hell in the moment. But 5 years later, they're in a massive depression. Their family has fallen apart because of the money. 10 years later, they're probably broke and bankrupt and wondering what the hell happened. How did I go from $100 million to filing bankruptcy and living in a studio apartment again? So you see, it was not earned. So there's a sloth that feeling and mentality goes along with anything that comes too easily.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we've also, had clients in the office that they're here because a family member left them a bunch of money. And so they're at least trying to look for ways to be better, but they've been so conditioned to just being allowed to be lazy that they aren't actually ready to make any of the changes, because they're not willing to put any effort in. But the reason that they're still not happy is because that effort hasn't been placed. So it's really one of those things where it can get really dangerous, because you can kind of get stuck in the mindset. Obviously, I think that applies a little bit more to people that are, like later in life, instead of, a 20 or 30 something, or definitely not a teenager. But someone that's just kind of like spent their entire life skating by for whatever reason is going to have a hard time even figuring out how to be contributing.
Mm-hmm. Well, in nature, it's called the path of least resistance. So if I don't gotta go to work today, I'm not gonna. It really becomes that simple. Whether your bills are being met by welfare and disability, or you won a lottery, or like you're saying, you got an inheritance. I've tried talking many people out of, please do not leave $2 million to your kids. No, it's a bad idea. It sounds ideally it sounds great, because it'll just help them have an easier time financially, but chances are it's gonna at least minimum half the time, it's going to really screw up that person because they kind of lose their mind about what they need to do. Perspective gets askew. People start quitting jobs and spending money, and next thing you know, it's as simple, they're out of money. And it's going to also be a relationship ruiner.
Yeah, I think it makes total sense. I think sloth is one of those 7 deadly sins that can take a lot of different forms for a lot of different reasons. But at the end of the day, like regardless of if you're experiencing sloth as a protective mechanism or because your life just kind of allowed it or you happened upon it, it's really just not the right way to go about things. Like obviously there's a basic sloth. We can help you get off the couch. We can help you with things like that. But the deeper ones where your life has kind of just like fit this bubble and we need to get out of this bubble, that's gonna take some time because you've been conditioned, and we gotta recondition for someone that wants to get up and wants to do something and wants to, the word I keep coming back to is contribute.
Well, to kind of summarize everything you just say, making a really salient point there, one of the most challenging clientele I can possibly have in the office is someone who does not need to change for financial reasons. Mm-hmm. If their finances are met or even excessive, then they just kind of want to pay a bill and have me wave a magic wand and boof, their entire life changes. They usually, and I'm going to say 99% of the time, they're not willing to put in the work. Mm-hmm. They just want it to magically be different because they don't have to contribute to it. They're still going to have all the luxuries of life that they're already currently have and are enjoying, and that's not going to change whether or not I change today. So those become really, really difficult to help people with.
Yeah, I mean, I think the topic of sloth and who it can apply to could go on for days, just like any other topic that we talk about. But I think that's a good basis, like the idea of the protective mechanism, because I think that's not really talked about enough. Not that we want this to be an excuse for individuals whatsoever, but we do understand that part of it feels like a survival technique. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely interesting stuff. We can learn a lot from sloth.
Right. All right. Well, thank you for all that information. I feel like this is another interesting discussion.
I definitely enjoyed it myself.
If you would like to learn more, please visit our website or give us a call today. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.